I call to order the September 3rd, 2025 public hearing and regular meeting of the Committee of Administration, Finance, and Law and Public Services. The time is now 6:31 p.m. Ms. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Alderman Connors.
Here.
Alderwoman Barbosa. Alderman McNamara.
Here.
Alderman Santiago. Alderman Simpson.
Here.
Alderman Gibson. Alderman Pabon. Alderman Smedley. Alderwoman Boulogne Saavedra. Alderwoman McAdam. Alderman Russell. Just note that Alderwoman McAdam is a voting member in place of Alderwoman Barbosa, and Alderman Russell is a voting member in place of Alderman Smedley. You have a quorum.
Thank you. I'd just like to note that Alderwoman Scott, did you get her? It's present. Thank you. Ms. Clerk, will you please read into the record the notice of public hearing unless someone wants to offer a
Mr.
motion?
Chair,
Alderman
make a motion to waive the reading of the notice.
Motion made, second?
Second.
Seconded by Alderman McNamara. Motion to waive the reading made by Alderman Santiago, seconded by Alderman McNamara. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed nay. Motion carries. Reading is waived. Having been noticed properly, we will begin the public hearing. Please remember to state your name and address for the record and limit your speaking time to 3 minutes. The item for public hearing is item number 36914, tax modification agreement for 125 Columbus Boulevard. Are there any speakers for this item? Are there any speakers for this item? Are there any speakers for this item? Is there anyone online to speak for this item? Not very popular item. No, I'm just kidding. Seeing no speakers, we will close the public hearing and move on to the regular meeting. The time is now 6:32 p.m. The item on the agenda is 36914, tax modification agreement for 125 Columbus Boulevard. May I have a motion?
Mr. Chair,
Alderwoman Boulogne Saavedra.
I'd like to make a motion that we refer this back to the council with a favorable recommendation.
I have a motion to refer with a favorable recommendation made by Alderwoman Boulogne Saavedra, seconded by Alderman Russell. We will call up Jack Benjamin this time to make a presentation before the committee. Thank you, Mr. Benjamin.
Thank you. Good evening, Jack Benjamin, Director of Planning Development. So as the presentation loads, I'll just give you a little bit of background. So this is what's referred to as Columbus Commons Phase 2. This is what this tax modification is focused on. The address is 125 Columbus Boulevard. Next door was the project that was done with Dakota Partners. And after that had concluded, the city reserved the right to find a different developer for Phase 2. So we went through a request for proposals process earlier this year. We had 4 qualified respondents. We invited all of them in to be interviewed by our selection committee panel, which featured 2 of our subcommittee members here tonight. And then we made our selection based on a number of qualifications, the development program being proposed, the quality of the applicants, and other things, including the request for tax modification. So this is a rendering provided by the developer that shows what Columbus Commons Phase 2 will look like. At this juncture, it looks like it's going to look a lot like Phase 1. A little bit of background on the development team who is here today, and I'm sure would be happy to answer questions if we have any for them. HHI, Heritage Housing, and RMS Companies are the partnership. Heritage Housing has really been steeped in the affordable housing realm and brings that expertise to the table. They will take the lead as the developer, putting together the financing package and taking the lead on that part of the project. RMS is really going to manage the construction component, has developed thousands of apartments in Connecticut, is active in Hartford, New Haven, Stamford, among other places. Just a quick rundown of what the development program is going to look like. So it's a 100% affordable housing project. That's going to be rents ranging from 30% to 80% of the area median income. The proposal right now is for 64 units and all a mix of 1 and 2 bedrooms. Just to give you a little bit of background on the way that we look at these tax modification deals and what sort of the developer is tasked with when making a request like this. So number one with development project financing is you got to figure out how much the project's going to cost. So the construction budget is put together. Those numbers are then taken and plugged into a pro forma, which is basically a tool that projects out the project over a period of years, looks at what the financing is and the debt servicing is going to cost, in conjunction with any grants or tax modification deals that they might receive on the project. It's really a tool that is presented to potential lenders so they can gauge the viability of the project. The three sort of major metrics that a lender is going to look at is the general return on investment, the capitalization rate, and debt service coverage ratio, which takes into consideration what the debt service costs every year to the lender and what the annual revenue is going to be from the project. And what these modification deals really do is they keep those critical pro forma metrics in the black so that lenders can make loans and lend to projects like this and really hedged against any uncertainty in the market or any periodic assessments or revaluations like we're subject to in Connecticut. A little rundown of the developer's proposed project financing plan. So it includes a traditional construction loan, State of Connecticut Department of Housing funds, most likely through the FLEX program, which is the more commonly used for projects like this. DECD's Community Investment Fund, which Heritage Housing has had success getting Community Investment Fund grants. They actually think that they might have been the first to have a ribbon cutting with a successfully funded community investment project. The big one here that sort of imposes those affordable requirements that we discussed is LIHTC, or Low Income Housing Tax Credits. It's a federal program managed on the state level by CHAFA and DOH, and that's really what requires that 30% to 80% area median income bracket to be met. And there's the rough or estimated project cost at this point in time, and then 125 Columbus, the purchase price is proposed at $500,000. Yes, Alderman.
Jack, I just want to stop you there because people see the phrase fair market rents and think differently than when we're talking about HUD and what fair market rents mean. Could you just explain that
Absolutely.
in this context?
So fair market rents are set annually by the Department of Housing and Urban Development on a regional level. So our fair market rents were compared to the rest of the state and region. Ours are generally set in the sort of New Britain, Hartford metro area. They can increase or decrease depending on the market year over year. For us, we apply them most often on the local level when we use home funding. So we receive home funding through the feds. We have to abide by their fair market rents on that. But a LIHTC funding source is still going to require the same to abide by the same fair market rents.
Thank you, Alderman. Please continue, Mr. Benjamin.
And then I wanted to talk a little bit about what tax modifications are and are not. So what tax mods are is it's a tool to build housing in a relatively new market without proof of concept. Luckily, we've had some more recent projects in downtown New Britain that have had some proof of concept, but for a 100% affordable project besides the Columbus Commons Phase 1 next door, there's not a glut of similar proofs of concept projects. Tax modifications in this case are really the only way to support construction of affordable units in any kind of market, really. Because of the way that fair market rents are structured and the area median incomes that need to be targeted with a program like LIHTC, it's not a traditional pro forma where you can count on real market rate rents, not fair market rents. And so this is really the only way to get it done. It's a critical component to securing financing, like we discussed, and it's a hedge against uncertain markets. So again, we are subject to reval every few years, and this can help a developer and their lenders to hedge against any sort of uncertainty that would be presented by a revaluation. And what tax mods are not, it's not a handout or a gift, especially when you're using something like a LIHTC program. Your fees are pretty much set in stone. They don't increase with the tax deal. It's not a ticket, especially for these guys, to sell an asset. They're really interested in holding this as part of their portfolio and staying present in town. And it's not a burden on the taxpayers. I'll show you on the next slide what we would be making on this property if it had been sold but wasn't developed. And that's pretty much what that looks like. So if there was no project and the land remained vacant, but it was privately owned, then we would be getting that sliver of taxes annually. In the middle is with the tax modification that's being proposed. And then the highest gold bar is if there was no tax modification in place, but the project was completed. But that's a unicorn. You're never going to get the project completed or developed without a tax modification. So that's kind of a pie in the sky number there. So to conclude, it's the proposal is for an 18-year tax modification, 10% of shelter rents. Shelter rents are the aggregate rent revenue annually taken in by this project, and it would be 10% of that. And we projected it out to increase over the 18 years. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Director Benjamin. I got Alderman McNamara.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So Jack, on the tax abatement or modification, those abatements would end if it wasn't low or moderate income, the affordability thing that you're talking about, your definition.
Well, so and I believe, and we can probably get a more specific answer from the developer, but for the LIHTC program, I think for a new construction project, that's a 20-year requirement to hold those rental rates and income, area median incomes requirements.
Well, our ordinance says 39 years, so 18 is
Sure. We could go up to 39 technically.
per our ordinance.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman McNamara. Alderman Simpson.
Mr. Benjamin,
Mr. Simpson.
can you, oh, never mind. There was a slide here that read rents between 30 and 80% of the area median income. Is that the rents or the income levels of the tenants?
That's area median income. Rents ranging, I'm sorry, yeah, that was a little bit confusing. That is the area median income of the tenants.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
Thank you. That's all I had.
Thank you, Alderman Simpson. Alderman Santiago.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What percentage of these housings are going to be the 30%? Because we were talking about 30 to 80%. So the range is, what is the
I
range?
don't believe the developers landed on that exact mix of what they're gonna have to do, but LIHTC is very specific about, there are a couple different approaches to qualifying for LIHTC funding, one of which is income averaging. So I think you have to land, it's definitely under 60%, I think it's somewhere between 55 and 57% total when you aggregate the area median income across all of the units.
No, I understand that. I'm just trying to figure out which ones are the 30%, which one's going to be 40, 50. You know what I mean? Because again, for
Sure.
instance, we have the windmill. They had about, what, 25% or 20% of
Theirs
the-
was a LIHTC project as well, so they were probably gonna be beholden to similar ratios.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Santiago. Alderman Scott.
I was just curious too, like how many, I mean, maybe just to break down for people at home and for myself too, how many like 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms?
They haven't finalized the count at this
Okay.
point in time, but it's all gonna be 1s and 2s, and 64 is the number. So it just has to do with finalizing floor plans and getting the architecturals and engineering work done.
And then, so roughly how many units do you think you will have available for like lower income?
Well, 100% of the project will be affordable and restricted.
And, so what would be the baseline number for that then? What would, where would it start at? What would be the yearly income that it would start at?
Off the top of my head, 30% right now of area median income is just under $30,000. And 80%, I can't do the calculation that fast.
Just curious. Okay, so so I think, you know, this looks pretty okay, but I just want to I'm just wondering, will there be like opportunities for local jobs for residents as we're building?
I'm sure, I know that these guys have prioritized hiring locally in the other markets they've worked in, so I think that we could expect the same.
And also, will there be like a priority for community residents to like have priority to live there and to be able to?
You mean current residents in New Britain?
Yeah.
I'm not sure that that's specifically been considered. I'm sure that's what you would find a lot of the applicants to be, are local folks. But it's not something we can force. I mean, if somebody is a qualified tenant and they fall under the income restrictions, then per fair housing, you have to accept the application.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Santiago?
If no one has any more questions, I would like to ask for a recess. Okay, yeah, yep.
Alderman Boylan-Saavedra?
First, I found the answer to Candace's question, because I kept a picture of that chart. So
Okay,
30% of median low income, if you're a single person, is 26,600. If you're two people, it's 30,400. That's at 30%. At 50%, a one person is 43,350 and a two person is 50,650. So those would be the income guidelines. Do you want the 80% too? Okay. 80% would be 70,950 for one person, or two people would be 81,050. Okay. I keep a screenshot of that because we talk about it so often. I just wanted to say, Jack, before we go into recess, perhaps you can introduce the members of the team who are here. And I just want to say this, John and I were the two members of the council that were part of the interview panel for the 4 respondents who came in. And we were very interested and intrigued by this particular group because it's a partnership between folks who are in the not-for-profit affordability development area and people who are used to doing market rates. So we were very intrigued by it. And I do want to say I did ask the question at the time of the 64 units, how many would be at 30%? Because this particular council was very concerned about having 30%, because 80% almost gets you at market rate units for the income. And so I just want to stress, as you could hear by the questions from both Alderman Santiago and Alderwoman Scott, that we are folks who are really interested in having as much at 30%. And I believe your answer to me at the time when I asked you was about your fiscal stack and how that all worked out to make the project work. But I would say, not that we can tell you how many of your 64 units should be at 30, but this is a group of people who would very much like to see a significant number at 30%. And that's all I had to say before you make your motion, Alderman Sands.
Thank you, Alderman Boylan-Saavedra.
You want a brief introduction?
I would prefer to.
Sure, okay.
Yeah.
All right, so David McCarthy is on the left. David is representing Heritage Housing. And then we have Randy Salvatore and Kyle Salvatore of RMS Companies. This is Brendan Gaffney. He's new to my team. We'll make proper deductions, I promise.
Thank you. Thank you.
Alderman Santiago?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to recess.
5 minute, 10 minute?
5 minutes, it should be
5-minute recess at 6:49. All in favor?
fine. Aye.
All opposed? We're in recess. Thank you.
Let's meet the youngster. I heard a Gaffney was headed this way. Sharon Savasia, hi, nice to meet you. Your father is? Is Hunter gonna be coming around to help you? Just fresh out of college.
There you go, yeah. I'm Tim. I got two boys, so yeah.
Golfing or watching baseball? What are you doing?
Outside all the time. I got two little boys, so outside. 6 and 4. Yes. Farms in New Britain.
How did I become designated?
Yes. Pretty good. I fed the cow. Okay. And a week later. Alderpersons, return to your seats. The flight is departing momentarily. The time is now 6:55 p.m. I call us back into order.
we were discussing the item before us, and at this time, I would actually like to offer a technical amendment, seeing that we're in a lull in discussion. At the second to last whereas, after section 20, apologies. I make a motion to amend to add after section 22-9, 22-10 at the last whereas.
Second.
I have a second from Alderman Santiago. Any discussion on the motion? Again, technical motion to add the correct ordinance sections. Seeing no discussion, all in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Thank you. We will resume discussion on the item as amended. Any further discussion? Alderman Santiago. Oh, Alderman McNamara.
Thanks for the introduction, Alderman Santiago. I was benefited from the presentation made, Jack, in terms of the presentation made, and I recognize I'm supportive of this. These are all estimates at this point, but it provided a unit matrix based on income, and it said 30% at 8 units, 50% at 26 units, 60% at 26 units, I'm sorry, at 50, 22 at 60, and 8 at 80%. Those are estimates, I realize, but is that the goal?
I'm happy to ask if a member of the development team could come up and address that. Where it has to do with their application to the LIHTC program and what is going to be required out of them for that, and I just can't speak to that.
Thanks.
Thanks, Dave.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yes, please proceed.
For the record, David McCarthy, principal of Heritage Housing, Inc., based out of Norwalk, Connecticut. The mix that we're proposing for the project is the same that we proposed when we responded to the RFP. And it is currently 8 units at 30% AMI, 26 units at 50% AMI, 22 units at 60% AMI, and 8 units at 80% AMI. And you'll notice immediately that those 80% and 30% numbers are identical. That's intentional. The system allows us to create a blend of units that averages to 60% of AMI or less. And so we can't add any 30% AMI units without adding 80% and so on, and vice versa as well. We can't add more 80% units without reducing some other units down to 30%. I don't know if hopefully that answers the question.
So, Mr. Chairman, that essentially you're in the system we're in, and I know there's various definitions of affordability in your business. The system we're in to get this public financing, you have to stick to those ratios.
Yeah, in order for any project to qualify for low-income housing tax credit funding, which is the main way that we build affordable housing in the U.S., you have to be below 60% of area median income as a whole for the project. And so you can slice and dice it different ways to get below that, but the way it usually ends up working out when you do the math is that you have this equal mix between 80 and 30% of AMI.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions on the subject of the distribution of the percent? Alderwoman Boylan-Saavedra.
I don't have a question. I just want to say how committed I am to seeing this project go through. We've talked as a council extensively about the need for affordable housing, and although we might not like the ratio, we don't have a lot of developers coming in for affordable housing. And this council, again, has complained about market rate units being built versus affordable housing. I think on the back of Ellis Street block that was just done, to have another apartment like this go up, project like this, is really significant for us as a community. So I fully support it and hope the rest of the council does as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Boylan-Saavedra. Alderman McNamara.
I'd reiterate what the Alderwoman is saying. I think the point needs to be made that the system that Mr. McCarthy has to work in and we have to work in someday needs to be fairer. Thank you.
Alderwoman Scott?
I agree. I'm really happy. I'm excited for us to get more affordable housing put up here in the city. My constituents are very concerned. A lot of them need housing. And so I'm excited to see more developed. I just really wish that we did have more at the 30%. So it's just a hopeful wish I have. But thank you. And I think if we can get more jobs for the city, for people that live here too through this, it would be great.
Thank you, Alderwoman Scott. Alderman Simpson was next.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to speak in favor of this resolution. As the biggest curmudgeon on the council about housing, I think that having a project, although it's across the spectrum of incomes, right, we have to zoom out a little bit and realize that nobody who is actually benefiting from these programs in terms of their tenancy, none of them are doing as well as their counterparts in the city or by a zip code, however it's calculated. So with that, I think having 8 units match the number of the maximum units, it creates, kind of like a bell curve here, right? But even the people caught in the middle, when we zoom out, all of them are still on the lower end of the income spectrum here. So I'm going to speak in favor of this resolution. Thank you for this project.
Thank you, Alderman Simpson. I echo everything you said. Any other comments on this resolution? Or may I encourage us to perhaps move to a vote? All right, seeing no further discussion, all in favor of the resolution as amended, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Thank
Motion to
you.
adjourn?
Thank you very much. I have a motion to adjourn made by Alderman Santiago, seconded by Alderman Boyd Saavedra. You have no idea how quickly we wrap up. Have a great night, and thank you for investing in the city. The time is 7:02, a nice prompt time. Thank you, Alderman Simpson.
Excellent.